Critical thinking. Now there's a subject to just blow the top off of excitement, isn't it? What is it? Critical thinking. Reasonable, reflective thinking focused on deciding what to believe or do. Yay! Unfortunately, most of us abandon critical thought in favor of believing celebrities or politicians or our neighbors. I have a 3-page script this time. Woohoo! Lots of stuff. Critical thinking is a big subject, and it's one well worth considering and thinking about. Now that said, yes, it's a 3-page script. That very often indicates a long video. I am going to try to keep this one simple, and I'm going to try to keep it short. This is one where I very much think I need to kick you off the fence. We need to do Cranium Ex Rectum. You need to either love what it is that I'm saying or really hate what it is I'm saying, because look at the world around us. It's going to hell in a handbasket, and if we don't start doing something differently, you and me, the average everyday person, if we don't start doing something differently, we only have ourselves to blame for what we get. So here we go. 2018, there's an article from CNBC by Ruth Umoh. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Ruth, her last name is U-M-O-H. Umoh? Not sure. The article is about an interview done with Mark Cuban, and he talks about AI, artificial intelligence, and the need for critical thinking. In the same article, Elon Musk is quoted several times. So, if you're thinking that we're going to apply critical thinking to the article, you hit that nail on the head. So Mark is quoted as saying that jobs that are currently viewed as safe could be displaced in a matter of years. And this is because of artificial intelligence. Right now it's pretty dim, but pretty soon it's going to be able to do pretty much every manual labor job and most, if not all, menial labor jobs. Okay, except here's the thing. Dude, Mark, I love you. I think you're really intelligent. And I realize this article was done in 2018, so that's 5 years ago at time of recording. But man, just look at jobs that have already been eliminated just because of automation. Simple mechanical automation. Tesla builds an entire car with no human being touching it. Okay? So in the article, Mark says that, oh, well, in 10 years, AI could replace all of these jobs. Which, yeah, absolutely. AI is already replacing jobs. The thing where I have difficulty is, he says, companies will want employees who are freer thinkers and can bring a different perspective to the information. Okay, I absolutely agree that corporations require freer thinkers and people who can bring a different perspective. The trouble is that attitude is actually anathema to the traditional corporate structure, where you just do what you're told. It is complete anathema to what MBA students are taught, because they're taught Frederick Taylor's scientific management, where workers don't know. You never ask a worker what to do. Employees are just stupid. If they weren't stupid, they wouldn't be an employee, they'd be an owner. So wow, okay, I agree that they're needed, but it is, look around, it is the exceptional company that breeds that environment. Look, just one example, Steve Jobs. The first time that he was at Apple, he was a bit of a dick, a bit of a dictator. Then he went off, he learned some stuff. When he came back, his second run at Apple, he was much more open to the idea of having people around him who disagreed, who brought him new information. Okay, so there's a guy who's extremely successful, but a complete dick, goes away and learns, comes back, second time at Apple, is much more in line with this idea of having people who can think for themselves and do things for themselves. And this idea of free thinking, okay, critical thinking, they are important right now, not in 10 years' time, not in 5 years' time. They have also been important for years, and I'll just give you some examples. How about 2008 and the whole concept of subprime mortgages? Really? I can buy a house with no income, no down payment? Really? You'll give me a mortgage and I can own this house? Oh, and you're going to give me a mortgage at subprime rates. But in 3 years or 5 years, here's what my payment goes to. People say yes to this stuff and then complain about it when they lose their house? Sorry. How about the early 2000s, the dot-com bubble? Really? You are going to believe that some company that just registers domains is worth billions of dollars? Versus a company, for example, Infusionsoft, which does business management, that actually does something? Early 1990s. Do you remember a recession happening at that point? How about 1986 to 1995? A whole decade during which, what happened? The savings and loan crisis. And how did that happen? People being irresponsible, not genuinely thinking things through. Let me go back to what is creative thinking. Reasonable, reflective thinking focused on deciding what to believe or do. Pick any of these 4 events. People were not thinking reflectively about what to believe or what to do. And given the huge proliferation of misinformation and disinformation, and they are 2 different things. Misinformation, mistake. Somebody got it wrong. Disinformation, deceive. They're trying to steer you in the wrong direction. Hey, there's a fellow that I watch, and his channel is listed below, Ryan Macbeth. And he talks about misinformation and disinformation all the time. It's actually part of what he does for a job. Then there's Elon Musk and his input. And to be accurate, it never says that Elon Musk was specifically interviewed. It just uses quotes from Elon Musk. So I'm not sure just how direct Elon's input was. But Ruth, the author of the article, cites Elon's position that he asks employees to boil information down to its most basic idea when working toward innovative and creative solutions to large-scale problems as an example of creative thinking. Now, I know that was a lot, but here's the thing. Critical thought and creative thought, you know how they're 2 different things? Because they're 2 different words. Critical thought, creative thought. They're 2 different things. And if you... Oh, I forget the name of the episode, but there's an episode I did where I talk about stimulating your creative imagination and learning to tell your left brain to just farfignugan off, okay? When you are doing critical thinking, that's left brain thinking. When you are doing creative thinking, that's right brain thinking. The 2 do not go together. That's like trying to plug 2 male plugs together, or 2 female plugs together. They don't go together. But you should absolutely do your creative thinking, brainstorm things, come up with ideas, and then start looking critically at how do we make these ideas work? Even, will these ideas work? There is also a quote in the article from Elon, and I really want to make sure I read this correctly. The quote is kind of bizarre. Physics is really figuring out how to discover new things that are counterintuitive. Now, for anyone currently in high school studying physics, you'll recognize, yeah, no it ain't. Physics in high school is motion on and off track, wavelengths, and all that kind of stuff. But okay, before we bash, because this is about critical thinking. So I am going to think critically about what it is that Elon is saying, and perhaps what he is trying to elucidate. So let's start with, Elon is an intelligent guy. He's no dummy. He's a little off his rocker maybe, but he's not a dummy. This statement, on the other hand, is a little bonkers. Because physics is not about even discovering new things. Physics is about explaining how things work. But I do see how he's getting there. Because Elon is in an environment such as Tesla, electric vehicles, electric power, SpaceX, sending stuff into space and bring it back. So something new that has been done by SpaceX is you send a rocket into space, and the rocket components come back and actually land on a landing pad, so you can reuse them, so that in a couple of days you can reuse them. What's happening here is Elon has been quoted saying this: physics is really figuring out how to discover new things that are counterintuitive. Because a rocket coming back and landing on a rocket pad, that's kind of counterintuitive. When rockets were first designed, that great big thing that was sent off into space was all scrap material. It was allowed to just crash back to Earth, to burn up on re-entry. None of it was salvaged and reused. At least, I don't think it was salvaged and reused. If somebody knows better than me, by all means, put it in the comments below. Elon's statement is an intelligent guy stating the end of a rational thought process. So he has thought through, okay, we use physics to send a rocket into space. What do we need to do to make that rocket come back and land on a landing pad? More physics. But you are discovering something new, because no one has ever landed a rocket back on a landing pad. Let alone, SpaceX has had elements of a rocket come back and land on a landing pad that's on the water. I don't know if you understand just how astounding that is, but that is an amazing achievement. Getting it to land on a landing pad at all is huge. Getting it to land on a landing pad that is out in the ocean is bigger than huge. Humongous. Sort of like, okay, getting it to land on a landing pad, that's a Komodo dragon. Getting it to land on the landing pad out in the water, that's kind of Godzilla. It's huge. Anyway, keep going. What I'm driving at is this idea that we have intelligent people like Elon, intelligent people like Mark Cuban, both very successful people. But they are being held up as authorities on subjects about which they actually know very little. Mark Cuban talking about jobs disappearing because of AI over the next 10 years. Now granted, this article was written in 2018, so we're already 5 years into the process and we are seeing it happen. So, Mark is a pretty good prognosticator in this respect. But the statement completely ignores the history we have of jobs being completely eliminated due to automation. Industrialization. Okay, industrialization came first, eliminated a lot of jobs. Even as simple as tractors eliminated the need for horses and increased ability to produce. Computers eliminated the need for somebody transcribing things because computers could duplicate very quickly and easily. Photocopiers no longer need artists who write out books by hand. Photocopiers, printing machines can produce them by the millions. Okay? So we have people being held up as authorities on things about which they really ought not to be making comments. And if you want to learn more, Thomas Sowell, Sowell, wrote many books, but one in particular that addresses this is titled Intellectuals and Society. I can feel this video getting long, so let's wrap up looking at this article with a separate article from the website Insight Assessment. And all of this stuff is referred to in the primary resources in the description below. The article from Insight Assessment, along with discussing these things, gives a list of 12 characteristics of strong critical thinkers. I strongly recommend that you go read the article, possibly even print the article. What I'm going to do is just very quickly touch on a couple of those. I think 6, maybe only 4. No, 6. One is inquisitiveness with regard to a wide range of issues. It means you like to know a lot. Okay? Instead of just focusing on neurology, you do history, you do mechanics, you do lots of other things. Instead of just focusing on carpentry, you learn how to knit, you learn how to sew, you learn how basic physiology. You learn lots of things. You have a wide range of interests. Do you? Or do you just do social media and websites which just feed you more and more and more of what you already like? Open-mindedness regarding divergent worldviews. Now, if you just went, oh yeah, I'm okay with that, yeah. Really? Because what I've marked down here is, tell someone from the alphabet community that you disagree with anything they say. Just me saying alphabet community is going to aggravate them to no end. I have a different viewpoint, but they have zero capacity to tolerate anyone who disagrees with them. In the other direction, tell gun enthusiasts, people, the NRA kind of folks, that everyone who wants to own a gun should be required to participate in gun safety training. I absolutely believe in gun control. I do not believe in the government controlling guns, and I live in Canada, where the government absolutely controls guns. I live in Canada, where we won the War of 1812, partly because we controlled guns. When people declared themselves a loyalist and came from the United States to Upper Canada, the first thing the authorities did was take away their guns. So that when the Americans attacked in the War of 1812, and they thought, oh, all the Americans that are up there, they'll help us win. Yeah, except none of them had guns. Okay, so I live in a country that controls guns. But I don't think the government should control guns. I think we should control guns. I think if you are going to own a gun, whether it's a handgun or a long gun, with that right to own a gun goes the responsibility to know how to use the bloody thing. Imagine the difference if, for example, in the south side of Chicago, or out in San Francisco, people commit crimes and all the regular citizens all are carrying weapons and they know how to use them. So some guy is running out of a store with a bunch of merchandise in his hands. Rather than shooting the guy in the head or the chest, bad choices, you shoot the guy in the butt. So not only can he no longer run away, he now has to tell everybody that he got shot in the butt. Or you shoot the guy in the leg. Okay? But I like the idea of shooting somebody in the butt, because then they have to tell the story about getting shot in the butt. Do you really have openness to divergent world views? Next one. Alertness to likely future events in order to anticipate their consequences. Can anybody say the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis? People took out mortgages knowing that they had no job, that they had no way of paying for this thing, but they bought the house anyway, and it created a crisis. Now, you can point to the investment bankers who absolutely did things wrong, who absolutely promulgated the whole concept of subprime mortgages and that they are actually good debt instruments. But the bottom line is, if none of us had taken subprime mortgages, they would not be available as debt instruments. Next one. Honesty in facing one's own biases, prejudices, stereotypes, or egocentric tendencies. I know there are people who are going to go, oh, that's Donald Trump, blah, 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 blah. Or that's Tucker Carlson, blah, 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 blah. How about some lesser known folks? How about Ben Shapiro? And Ben, is it Paxman or Paxman? Ben Shapiro is on the right side of the political spectrum. Ben Paxman, I think that's the right name. Ben, if I'm getting your last name wrong, I sincerely apologize. He's on the left side. Well, they both produce content on YouTube that not only is dictated by their biases and prejudices, it's designed to amplify their biases and their prejudices. They never look at anything using critical thought. Now, I'll amend that. That's hyperbole. For the most part, they just are there to spew their biases and prejudices. They rarely engage critical thinking to look at what they're doing. They just want to spit venom at the other side. Prudence in suspending, making, or altering judgments. The first one that comes to mind is Elon Musk. The guy is so not prudent in suspending, making, or altering judgments that he has taken Twitter from dubiously being worth $44 million to now it isn't even worth $4 million. See, this is the result in not being willing to change your mind. And the last one, willingness to reconsider and revise where honest reflection suggests that change is warranted. And if it sounds like these are kind of similar, they are. They're just approaching things from different directions, which is kind of the point of critical thinking. And again, Elon, there's somebody who, here's the way I'm going and this is the way it's going to be. And something I'd like you to think about. Why is there so much in the media about Elon and Twitter, and so little about Elon and SpaceX? And I would put to you that it's because Elon is making all the decisions for Twitter. Elon is not making the decisions for SpaceX. At Twitter, he just has to know it all. He has to be the guy in control. At SpaceX, he at least has brains enough to recognize he ain't a rocket scientist. There are people at SpaceX who know a lot of things that he has never learned, and he lets them do their jobs. Even Tesla. There's far less now of Elon and Tesla, because Tesla has gone beyond Elon's areas of expertise. And he has no choice but to leave it to them to do what it is that they know how to do. But at Twitter, hey, it's just a social media platform. Who needs any expertise to do that? I don't know. You know, he took a company from $44 million to $4 million, and possibly less than $4 million. Or was it $1 billion? Might have been $1 billion. There is a popular view today that where change is warranted, instead of reflecting and reviewing and perhaps changing what it is you're doing, you should just declare the other person wrong. Oh, the other person is stupid. The other person, has no experience. Blah, 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 blah. I believe that's called an ad hominem. I actually was watching a video about logical fallacies earlier today. I have no idea how we got here. As a society, I mean. Instead of using critical thought and recognizing, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Case in point, currently in Washington, D.C., the whole section of Congress that's calling itself Republican. And they're, pushing the whole thing to shutting down the government and, just burn the place down, that whole attitude. I have to wonder, are any of them stopping to consider that what they are doing is the instigator for everything that's going on around the new BRICS currency? Other countries are saying, whoa, let's stop using the US dollar, because clearly Americans want to burn the place down. Americans want to stop paying their debts. Nobody's stopping to think, what are the consequences of doing this? And let's bring it back to us, the everyday citizen, the everyday person. Is that who you want as your representative on the world stage? Okay, stop thinking that Joe Biden is your representative on the world stage. He's just the figurehead. Okay? He's the person, he's like the CEO, captain of the team. The people in Congress and the Senate, they're the folks on the field playing the game. And are these the people that you want playing this game? People who are willing to say, stop paying all our debts. Okay? No longer honor our commitments. Burn the place down. If the answer is yes, then when an election comes, vote for them again. And if the answer is no, then when the election comes, put somebody else forward. Listen to what I said. Not vote for the other guy. Put somebody else forward. Whoever the Republican Party says is your candidate, say, no. We're going to nominate this person over here. When the Democratic Party comes along and says, this is your candidate, say, no. We're going to put this person forward over here. We are sick and tired of establishment candidates being force-fed to us by our political party. We want someone who actually lives here, who has experience in our communities, understands the people, and will represent us once they get to Washington, D.C. Or represent us once they get to the state capitol. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox now. Let's wrap this up. I'm sure you have lots of comments after this one. Feel free to put them down below. Happy to read through them. For all of you that are haters and want to say negative things, farfig nugan off. Don't need to see it, don't need to read it. Go do something else. And for everyone who has something constructive or suggestive or, thoughtful, please, by all means, put your comments down below. Thank you for watching. Have yourself a great day.